Hey guys, Carlos here from abrotherabroad.com, and right now I am in Santiago, Chile. Look at this beautiful view. This is why I travel. It's kind of nice to be able to have some coffee, work, and then just wander home with a view like this. But all right, so today, second episode, I want to tell you about what I keep getting asked. Why did I leave Bali? Okay, every single time people ask me where I was at before, I say Bali. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Of course, Bali must be better. It depends on who you are and what you're looking for. So let's back this up. All right, 2017, I left to travel the world. 2018, I fell in love with Bali. I wanted to learn how to surf, nothing but beaches, low cost of living, beautiful people, and then a huge traveler nomad community. So Bali, specifically Canggu and Uluwatu, made a great place to base for travel. So from Bali, I was not only able to live like a really good life, open my mind a little bit, but I traveled to Sri Lanka and Thailand and Philippines and Vietnam and Tokyo. That's not, well, Tokyo could be its own country. Japan, over and over. And I love these spots. But Bali was an amazing place. Was. Now, the place right now that everybody tries to go to, the two are Canggu and Uluwatu. Before I got to Canggu, I'd say around like 2015, it was nothing but rice fields. By the time I got there in 2018, 2019-ish, it was just a cluster of cafes and co-working spaces near the beach. So pretty much you grab your surfboard, you go surf, you throw it on your motorbike, you go to a co-working space, you go to a cafe, eat lunch, you go back, get your work done that pays for you to be there, and it's amazing. I said in the video before, it was wonderful to be there too because quality of life was so good, but I was paying $450 a month for a 3-bedroom house. I could eat whatever I wanted. My budget really ran above $1,000 a month. So that $1,000 a month bought more happiness than $10,000 a month did for me in the US, or a weekend in Vegas or anything like that. So Bali was a really, really beautiful place. And it wasn't just that, the little nomad communities that were popping up. The island itself was beautiful. Balinese culture is super cool. Whether it's watching the offerings they give every day, how dedicated they are to their religion. The Balinese Hindus are an interesting people, beautiful people to get to know. Whether it's on Nyepi, the day that everybody goes silent, and you're sitting in your villas and it's pitch black, you got your windows open, looking out at the sky, and there's no electricity on anywhere. It's amazing. Now, this got even better actually, because 2020, about February 2020, everything shut down. Flights stopped coming, which meant no more tourists. And there was nobody there except for, I'd say, 20% of the tourists that decided to stay. Or I like to call us immigrants. We stayed there. During that period, during COVID, I'd say for 2 years, the cluster that was there of foreigners, it was like living in The Beach, that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. Never going to happen again. It's never going to get that good. So part of the reason I left Bali and I needed to leave is because I experienced it at such a good point. It's burned into my mind. That's what I remember. She is the hot chick. Bali during the pandemic was the hot chick. Never get hotter than that. The problem is Instagram. All you Instagrammers, you ruined it. So as word got out, while everybody was trapped in their houses, that we were sneaking out with our surfboards at 6:30 a.m. to catch a surf and then go work and then go have a Santa pub crawl while everybody else is locked in their houses. Word of that got out. And not only the foreign travelers, but the domestic travelers, for the first time, started coming to Bali. Like, it's not the first time, but Jakarta's filled with some rich, posh people. And Bali, even though foreigners, Westerners think it's like a cool thing, they didn't care until then. So at around like 2021, 2022, Bali got so popular that the government there loved it. If you look at all the quotes in the press that he has, everything that came through the news, they were extremely happy having Bali in the news like that. It meant more tourists, more money. But the problem with that, hopefully I don't get hit. The problem with that is the infrastructure wasn't able to handle it. And the nature wasn't able to handle it. So for all these new people coming in, people wanted to make money. They sold their rice field. Instead of you seeing a beautiful view of a rice field, you've got a cookie cutter kind of shitty villa. And these things started popping up everywhere. Everywhere that you would wake up in the morning and hear the birds, um, turned into just really garbage villas that were rented out as extremely high prices. So I told you that I rented my villa for $450 a month, right? Now in that same area, I did a real estate study on Bali. In that area, those houses were selling for about $400,000, and the average rent for the month was $4,000. So we're talking almost 10x. But keep in mind that every single time a villa popped up, that meant one more piece of the beauty that was Bali disappears. It means a rice field disappeared. It means a piece of the forest disappeared. It means there are animals that live there. Like those spitting cobras, those motherfuckers are real. Sorry, those guys are real. And they live in those rice fields. And every single time a villa popped up, it was less Bali and it was more Europe, America. I guess there's South America too. Yeah, that's America's. And as those villas popped up, the Balinese families started moving away. So somebody said, okay, are you friends with locals in Bali? When I was upset by the time I had to leave. And I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, I love the village that I live in. There are a lot of Balinese people there. But all the Balinese friends I had when I first moved to Bali had to leave the area because they couldn't afford it anymore. So that gentrification, it made it more of a tourist spot, but it pushed out everything that made Bali Bali. So on top of that, as all these tourists came in, the roads never got bigger. The drainage, that keeps things from flooding, never got never got improved after the rice fields got taken away. And the the things that common sense would tell you not to make, like the largest club in Asia, in a place where the infrastructure isn't strong enough to hold it, common sense didn't play out. So the reason that I don't like Bali now is simply because I knew Bali at its best. Now, I could go on a while with this, but I'll say, if you are considering going to Bali, still go. Don't ever let anybody's stank that they're putting on a destination talk you out of going. If it's been on your bucket list, go. If you want to go live in Bali for a year, go. Especially because you didn't understand Bali before, you'll appreciate it way more than I will now, and you should take advantage of that. So, what if you do want to go to Bali now? Okay, I'm going to give you my tips. As a guy who lived on Bali for 4.5 years, number one, know where you're going, know what to expect, and know the other places to go. So the places that you're gonna go, you need to know about are Canggu and surrounding Pereiranan and Chamagi. That's where all the digital nomads once were, but it's just a tourist hub with a bunch of cafes and posh food. Go ahead and check it out. Traffic is going to be really bad, but you got to check it out. If you swim in that water on Batu Belong Beach, know there is fecal matter in there. Go look at the test. You can see the test online. Okay, so number two, Seminyak. If you want Vegas, if you just want to be able to walk to restaurants, you want to party, you want to get drunk, and get picked up by your taxi afterwards, Seminyak is pretty much where you want to be. If you're only there for a week and you want to max it out, make that your base. Don't spend too much time there. There's still some beautiful places to see. From there, you've got Ubud and Uluwatu. If you don't know how to surf, there's still some places you can learn, but don't expect to go to Uluwatu and surf. If you're going to be there a long time and you want to learn how to surf, go to Uluwatu. You get your butt kicked, but you will learn how to surf. From there, Ubud. Ubud is probably the most culturally preserved of the bigger cities right now in Bali that you can go and experience. So absolutely hit Ubud. Traffic's going to be horrible. You're going to require a driver. You're not going to be able to walk anywhere. And I'm not even sure if they're doing the motorbikes. But still give it a shot. Now, where else do you need to go? East Bali. I'm going to break a few codes and give you some places that you probably need to add to your list. All right. Ahmed, go check it out. East Bali, just look at the map, look around Karangasem, and look at where shuttles are going to, and then go to one of those places. On top of that, definitely go to Gili Trawangan, Gili Air, and Gili Meno. And let's see. And if you have the time, go check out Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Cheningan, as well as Nusa Penida. Around Nusa Penida, you can do some amazing diving, some with some manta rays and things like that. It gets super sketchy, but it's worth it. So now, what if you've already fallen in love with Bali and you do want to live on Bali forever? It is possible. I've been talking for 10 minutes now, so I'm going to give 2 minutes of the advice I wish I'd known before moving to Bali if I was going to move there right now. All right, number one, go on a long stay tourist visa. So they've got the social visas for like 6 months, and they've got the year-long visas. Get one of those. They've got this thing called the kitas. Don't worry about getting that right now because number one, there's a lot of legalese around there that agents will tell you about. You become a tax resident, and if you get a kitas, Indonesia taxes your global income. So if you're making $70,000 a year, you're going to have to hand them a good $25,000 of that. So don't do that yet. Number two, where to stay. Book something on Booking. Book outside of the big areas. If you're thinking about Canggu, go further west. Go further west than Pereiranan and Shemagi and hang out around there. Or if you can find a cheap place in Seminyak, even better, go stay around Ubud. And in the Bukit, you can stay around Jimbaran and east of Uluwatu, and you'll be getting yourself into a good situation. Three, have plenty of money when you come. Bali is way more expensive now, especially if you want to live the Instagram life that you saw. Oh, almost got hit by a car. If you want to live the Instagram life that you see, Bali is way more expensive than you think. If you go on nomadlist.com, or even if you check my site, the numbers up say that Bali, you can live there for about $2,000 a month. In reality, if you go to the gym, you go to a cafe, you have your food delivered, you're looking at between $3,000 and $4,000 a month. So have plenty of money for your stay. With that said, number three, am I on number three? Know that you can't work in Bali. There are a bunch of loopholes and ways around it, but ultimately you can't work on Bali as a foreigner unless you get hired by a company. That's going to be very difficult. If you start your own company, you have to invest $700,000, and then you're allowed to not work but direct people. So don't plan on working on Bali, and don't plan on doing it openly at all. Next, people always ask about building a villa. If you go on my site, I have a ton of articles written about when I built my house in Bali, the process of it, which I wish I'd done better, how to do it if you're going to do it, and pricing that out. Building or buying a house in Bali should not be taken lightly. I'll do a whole different video on that if people are interested. You can build a house in Bali for about a good one and furnish it for about $125,000 to $150,000 US for a 175 square meters, so about 1,750 square feet, 1,800 square feet. It is possible, but there's also the things you have to think about are the process of building, whether you go through a developer because it's going to add about 20%, whether you want your house to withstand the rainy season because most don't, whether you want to be able to rent it out because you require certain permits. Additionally, there are a lot of scams that happen on Bali now that weren't happening before. Like I said, the tourism and the influx of people, a lot of people saw that as money and opportunity. So now people that weren't on Bali before are there creating scams to take advantage of people that want to rent villas long-term or build them long-term. On this, this is a whole different video. If you do want me to do something on how to go about building a villa in Bali, buying a villa or going through a developer, drop that in the comments and I'll do it. But do a lot of research. Don't build on Bali or buy a villa on Bali unless you've been there at least a year. And don't build or buy a villa in Bali unless you plan to live in it at least 5 years. Before you do that, talk to a tax consultant in Bali, talk to a lawyer in Bali, have all the research done on the documents, and do not ever trust anything that anyone tells you that's trying to sell you land. And with that, I think that's a quick Bali guide. If this helps you out at all, let me know. And if you got more questions when I get back to Bali, I'll do another one. I won't be working though. I will figure out a way to do it without working because I can't work in Bali. See you guys. See you next time.